To order of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District on July 27th, 2020. First of all, we pledge allegiance, led by yours truly. Put your hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob, would you do the?
Yeah, please bow your head and join me in prayer. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Amen. Very good. Okay. Roll call, please.
Director Michael Schaefer.
Here.
Director Art Perry.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer. Here. Vice President Robert Uten.
Here.
President James Fairman.
Present. Do we have any late communications?
Yes, we do, Mr. President. We did receive late communications yesterday from Mr. Mosier. This afternoon or this morning, staff responded to Mr. Mosier, and those responses were provided to the board and are available to the public upon request.
Okay.
Is there anything significant from his remarks?
No, what we could do, George Perry, is his remarks are specific to agenda items, so we can address those when those items come up.
Okay. Thank you. We don't have any ceremonial matters this evening.
No, Mr. President.
And public comments. Seeing we're the only people here in this room, I think we'll pass on by that.
Nothing online? No online? Okay.
And consent calendar. I'd entertain a motion, or if anybody has any
Make a
questions.
motion to approve it all except number 9, which Scott has a comment on.
I second it.
I second. Did someone second it?
Arlene seconded it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Scott?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So item number 9 is a list of contracts that I signed in the month of June. This is a standard report I give to the board every month. There's a correction I do want to mention to the board and the public on this staff report. On number 3, the contracts for EEC Environmental, the third amendment for the fall control program, that is correct. We did implement a third amendment, but it was the cost that was incorrect. As you know, the cost is $131,500. That was indicated in the staff report. Well, if that was the case, that's beyond my authority to approve. I can only approve contracts of $125,000 or less. So I went back and checked, and the good news, that's an error. The actual amount for the contract is $110,475, and that is within my authority to approve. That's why it's on this staff report. Just the amount was wrong.
I move for approval of the error, and that's it.
I'll second number 9.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearings, consideration of solid waste annual charges and wastewater annual charges collected with the general taxes. Is there?
So President, if I could defer this to our District Counsel, Alan Burns. I think there's some procedures we have to follow for this hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, but Mr. President, if it would be appropriate, this is one of the matters that Mr. Mosher commented on, and I'd like to respond to that.
Please.
Before you do vote. So the procedure set forth in the Health and Safety Code is there's a procedure for collecting the taxes on the tax roll. It's a Health and Safety Code 5473.1. It provides that in the first instance, when the you first adopt the procedure, you have to do a mailed notice to everyone, and then you hold a public hearing on the assessment itself. But after the initial proceeding, only newspaper notice is required each time you are conducting a public hearing to assess the charges, to have the tax collector collect them for you. Of course, if you increase the charge, you have to do a new Prop 218 notice, and mail notice goes out to everyone 45 days ahead of time, and all the other procedural protections are involved in that law. So after the first year, the only thing that's required is newspaper notice for the public hearing, and that's what's before you tonight. But there's still a public hearing to conduct and confirm the charges. So if an individual believed he was being charged improperly, he could come before you and make the suggestions, for instance, that he's being charged for multifamily when actually he's single family, and you could consider that and make the adjustment in the tax roll. Another concern or issue or question that Mr. Mosher had is, what is the report? And he couldn't see it before tonight's meeting, and that is true because the march of technology has changed the report to being something like a computer tape or a disc, and the district clerk is required to file that with the auditor and endorse a statement over the report over a signature saying this represents the correct assessment roll. Well, there's no paper document to sign anymore. It's all computerized. So we have had to adapt with Noelani giving that certification to the tax collector saying this, you can rely on this. This is in fact the assessments, and that's prepared by our engineer. So that's the way the procedure works, and that's why there's no report for Mr. Mosher to review. He could certainly review the computer information if he had the desire to do that. But that's what's before you tonight. You do have to open the public hearing, hear any public comment, close it, and confirm the charge.
Any comment? I would like to say that we ought to, are you going to be able to contact him and make him aware of what this is developed into? Alan?
Sure, I would certainly do that if he's not online. I could be happy to send him a communication about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would, suffice. Anybody else have a comment or?
No.
Okay, so do we need to take an action on this?
You'd open the public hearing for public comments first.
Okay. I'm going to close the private, the public hearing and the private hearing and close the, and open the regular hearing.
Move approval.
Any comments? What's that?
Move approval.
Were there any public comments?
Okay.
Move to close the public
It's
comments.
good.
Oh, did he? Okay, Bob did. I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go back into open session and close the old.
We need to approve resolution 2020-930. I'll move for approval of resolution 2020-930.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, where does that leave us here?
Next one is
Back to general manager's report.
931.
We'll need to take a vote on resolution 931 and the ordinance.
Do we have to open up public comments again?
No.
I make a motion that we approve and adopt resolution 2020-931.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I'd like to approve the ordinance, make a motion to approve the ordinance 130.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Now, can I make a comment? Does Jim sign the certificate of assessment? That's the fourth thing. But I think you just have to sign that after the meeting's over and date it. And we give that to you. Okay. Have to sign it. That's just my copy. I don't know if that's the one Nolani needs. Okay.
With that, we are received number 2 or number 3?
General manager report number 1.
Oh, 1. I thought- Scott, we will entertain here.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So this is the Fats and Oils Grease Control Program Annual Assessment. Joe Jenkins from EEC Environmental will be giving a presentation about our fog control program. Also attached in your staff report is a written assessment of this past year. So he'll be giving a presentation and be open up for questions. And this is a file and receive presentation. So I'll turn it over to Joe.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, are you going to put my presentation on the screen for everyone, or?
Give me 1 second, I'll share the screen.
Okay, great.
Given technical difficulties.
You see that, Joe?
Yeah, I can see it. You want to just play the presentation so it's on the full screen there? You can just go to like slideshow from beginning or something. Okay. So yeah, I'll just be going through the different elements of the program and the areas that we assessed, and we'll provide some additional statistics regarding the FOG program from this year. And so we can go on to slide 2. So before I get into that, I just want to talk about one of the general FOG program activities that we do for the district. First and foremost, and probably the most important one, is we conduct what we call risk-based FSC inspections of the food service establishments. That's what FSC stands for. And so what this means is we try to maximize the resources, our inspection resources and the district's resources, to focus our attention on the FSCs that we think are going to cause, have the highest potential to discharge fog into the sewer system and cause sanitary sewer overflows. So we use a bunch of different metrics to help prioritize our inspections, the relationship of the FSC to what we call an enhanced maintenance location, the history of the food service establishment in terms of their compliance history, and then also cleaning crews observation in the sewer line, like we're seeing areas of heavy fog accumulation at just downstream of a restaurant's lateral. We also, during the inspections, provide educational materials to the facilities. We want each time we visit the facilities to be an opportunity to educate them on the FOG program so that they can maintain consistent compliance. And that's really the key to maintaining consistent compliance with the FSCs. This year we established a goal to have 10% or less non-compliances with our BMP and GRE inspections during our program. And this is one way to do it. I'm sorry, Lonnie, can you go back to that slide?
Yeah.
For some FSCs, we also have to do additional enforcement. So we manage enforcement coordination. So sending out letters and occasionally bringing them in front of the board. We manage all the data in a centralized database. Then we also map FSC locations in our GIS, and so we can review them in their coordination with the sewer system. For new facilities, we conduct a plan review to make sure they're installing the proper type of grease removal equipment, such as grease interceptors. And we also help support the evaluation and characterization of the enhanced maintenance location and work towards a reduction of those locations. Okay. So one way we establish our FSC inventory management is through the review of a bunch of different resources. So the first and foremost, we use the Orange County Healthcare Agency's list that we can download from their website. And so periodically throughout the year, we'll do a big download of their list and compare that against our database. We do coordination efforts with the city to get business licenses, and also through plan review of new facilities coming in. When they come in, we'll make sure we get them into the database with what equipment they're going to put in. And also, as our inspectors are out in the field, they just keep an eye out to see like, hey, that's a new facility or that changed names, and we don't have that record. And so then they go and they update the database. And so since in the actual assessment report, you can see the change in amount of FSCs in the district over the previous 5 years, and also the correlation between how many have gravity grease interceptors versus hydromechanical grease interceptors. So that information is in there. But since 2017, we've added approximately 91 new facilities to the program. And this year, I say we have 30 prioritized, but we're going to have a bunch in there that we need to just confirm, are they still in business or not? And are they the types of facilities we want to have in the program? So we can go to the next one. For each new facility, we go out and we do an initial inspection. We also call this a permitting inspection. While we're out there, we document the presence of any high-risk cooking equipment, so griddles, grills, and woks, and that type of thing. We evaluate their proximity to any enhanced maintenance locations. We determine what type of grease interceptor they have and make sure they know how to maintain that grease interceptor. And then we also explain to them what are the kitchen best management practices requirements and provide them with their employee training logs in a binder with all the educational materials. Okay, next slide. So currently in our database, these are just facilities in the database, there's 730. And so how they break down in terms of inspections, 55 are quarterly, 85 semi-annual, 240 annual, and then biannual 350. I expect that 730 number, though, to go down over the next year as we get out to some of the newer facilities. We expect, a good number of facilities, unfortunately, to have gone out of business as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we're just going to have to go back and see who's still in business and who's operating in what capacities. And I think we have a decent number of facilities in our database that will determine as being what we call limited food preparation, which means they don't have any cooking equipment and they're not discharging fog. And so we'll designate them to not be re-inspected. Okay. And then throughout the year, and at the end of each year, actually, we review our inspection frequencies for each facility and determine if they're still appropriate. So we look at their compliance history over the previous years, determine how they maintain compliance. Maybe we can reduce their frequency. Or are they consistently non-compliant? Maybe we need to increase their frequency. We use maintenance and CCTV observations to adjust frequency. So if a location was an enhanced maintenance location and now it's not, maybe we can reduce the inspection frequencies there. And also any compliance history from the healthcare agency. And then we use, if there's, say, a recent private SSO or a list of activities, or someone had restricted effluents, we may increase the inspection frequencies in those areas until we see consistent compliance again.
Mike, what is restricted effluent?
That's like in a grease interceptor. So if we open the lids and the water is at the top of the lids,
Oh,
as their line keeps plugging up on them, then we need to increase our inspection frequency so we can make sure that they keep their line clean and that they're not going to cause a private spill.
okay.
So a couple examples of some inspection frequency modifications, and names have been hidden to protect the potentially innocent and or guilty. So there's a major breakfast chain. They originally were on an annual inspection frequency, but they had frequent private SSOs. They're not connected to a grease interceptor. And so, one way to help them keep their line clean, other than the increased frequency in the hydrojetting, is just to do frequent inspections of these facilities to make sure they're implementing their kitchen BMPs. So that was an increase in inspection frequency. And we had a small shopping center. They originally were on a quarterly inspection frequency and connected to an enhanced maintenance location. The initial had significant non-compliances for fats, oils, and grease over the 25% rule. But through consistent inspections and some upgrades and some grease interceptors, we saw the amount of fog accumulation in this area decrease significantly. The EML has essentially moved back out to annual now. And so we've reduced the inspection frequency in this area. Okay. So a little bit of a history on the enhanced maintenance locations. Back in 2011, we had approximately 97, and I think we were actually working up towards 100. One was on there for a brief period of time until it got some construction activities. But these were caused by root intrusions and structural deficiencies and fog discharge. And so, the structural deficiencies were prioritized for repair, which helped remove those locations. A combination of root foaming and lining activities helped with some of the root intrusion locations. And then just enhanced source control, what helped, I think, with a lot of the fog discharge areas. And we currently have 18 on the enhanced maintenance location list. This does not include siphons. There's like 6 or 7 siphons also on the list. But reduced it all the way down to 18. So it's just looking for continued options for rehabilitation. We, utilize the cleaning observations of the crews when they're out there maintaining it. Is it getting heavier? Is it getting lighter? That sort of thing. And we also just want to keep focusing our source control on, it's usually a lot of the high density shopping centers, which is kind of causing the fog related EMLs.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you check the siphons yourself?
We don't check the siphons. No, the cleaning crew guys just have those on a regular cleaning frequency.
That's what I thought.
And they go out and clean them.
Thank you.
I had a question. Maybe I
Sure,
should
sure.
get it in now. Joe, when you were talking about the plan review and how you coordinate with the city, do you do the same person? You coordinate with them in the same department each time over all this, or just, does it vary?
Well, so for plan review, we're actually working with Val at the district. So he goes and picks up plans from the city and brings them back. And then if he identifies some as being food service establishment, then he notifies us that it needs grease interceptor review. And then the coordination stuff we're doing is just getting business license lists. And so we do have a person at the city that we contact, usually like once a year, and just ask for a list.
So the time frame is okay, as far as timing?
Yeah, it usually works out for us.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Still got more to go.
Okay, and so just to focus on some of the areas that we focused on for fog discharge mitigation in the last year, and a lot of these locations are ones we're continuing to put our focus on. Paul Reno and Trinity, which is actually the photo on the right there. You can see what it used to look like. This is from, I think, 2010. We have seen reduced fog accumulation at their lateral, and the email has moved to the annual clean list, which is good. A lot of this help with this area was redirecting some of the discharge from this location here to a different area of the sewer system. But even though we've reduced them back to an annual cleaning frequency for the EMLs, we know we still need to continue with FSC source control here just to make sure people don't regress in this area. 19th Street is another area, almost all up and down 19th Street. There's a lot of older FSCs there, so we don't like the term grandfathered in, but they're operating under a conditional variance. So a lot of them don't have grease interceptors. And so we've increased the DMP inspection frequency for these facilities just to make sure, it's on the forefront of their mind to do what they can to keep the grease out of the drains. And then the camp and the lab is going to be one where, I think we're going to be working with them for a while. It's multiple FSCs in this area, all discharging to a single location. The good thing is they all have grease interceptors, I think, for maybe one facility. And we're working directly with the property owner there to make sure that he's reminding his tenants about keeping his grease interceptors maintained and staying on top of things. And so hopefully we'll start seeing some mitigation in these locations.
Joe, hasn't this been a couple year problem?
Yeah, the camp and the lab has been for sure. I think what we've seen as a direct kind of help in this area is just having more of a presence there. And so even though we have them on a quarterly frequency, there's some facilities in there that had repeat non-compliances that we were going back to, a little bit more frequently than that. And so the area of the sewer here too, where it comes down Bristol and then turns and goes up Randolph, there's some structural issues, some sags there that also, help lead to the accumulation. And, so it's going to be an ongoing issue here, to just make sure that they're maintaining their grease interceptors and doing the best they can to keep the fog out of the sewer.
Yeah, Scott, a question, Joe. Are we looking at those sags in the line he's talking about?
Yes, we are. We have, are you talking about the siphons too, or the?
Oh, just this, because he was talking about the sags were causing part of the problem.
Well, we looked at them during our quarterly, we used to have a meeting with our quarterly hotspot meetings on SAGs. They're just, if you want, I can bring this back to the board. It's just more cost effective to maintain them on a regular basis rather than repairing the SAGs.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes, yeah. I do have some comments from Mr. Mosier, and I can share that with the board. Mr. Mosier, Mr. Mosier mentioned that the district said that we collected 340 gallons of cooking grease at OCC Recycling Center, and he thought that number was kind of low after the holidays based on how many people cook their turkeys. And so our response to Mr. Mosier is that, well, we do, right before the holidays, we do advertise the grease recycling program at OCC on social media, in our newsletter, and on our website. However, our target audience are those people who fry their turkeys. That produces those minimum 5 gallons of grease by frying the turkeys. That's our target audience because that much grease generated from frying, we definitely don't want them pouring it down the drain, and we definitely don't want or down the gutter. So that's our target audience. So 340 gallons, yes, that could be seen as low, but again, I don't know the behavior of everyone. Again, I gave my example. I used to fry my turkey, but I stopped a couple years ago because it just got too costly for the oil. Maybe that's happening. I don't know. We do still recommend, for those who don't fry their turkeys, if they still cook it traditionally in the oven, just pour their grease in a plastic container and they can throw that in the trash. However, as we told Mr. Mosier, if they want to be a little more environmental, concerned about the environment, or be more proactive about protecting the environment, they can put their grease in a compostable bag and throw that in organic recycling. obviously they have to wait till the grease cools down, and then they put it in the bag, and then they can put it in the organic recycling. That is an option for them as well. He also mentioned to us that there's some revisions that we need to look at in our FOG frequently asked question page on the website and also in our green guide. And I told Mr. Mosier we'll look into that and make appropriate changes.
I had a comment.
Arlene?
I was wondering if, I don't know when the newsletter's going out, but being that November is Thanksgiving, that maybe we could put something in to recommend what you're saying, because the recycling place is closed and people go there and automatically, take their grease there. Now they won't be able to. So if they knew that they could put it in a sack and blah, 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 that kind of thing. Suggestion.
Thank you.
You have to coordinate that with OCC, I would think.
They're closed down, so they can't.
Yeah, they're closed.
Whole school's
You
closed
can't-
down, so they can't drop it.
Yeah, so
Is
that's
there
why.
alternate location that we could come up with?
But that's something we have to think about. Where we're going to go. Yeah. Suggestion is they can hold on to the grease till next year.
People probably won't.
Well, the one thing, grease that kind of grease won't solidify. So it'll be fine if you just keep it in the bucket and cover it. I've done that before. I kept grease for a couple months and then brought it in. So if we can't find an alternative location, then the suggestion would be just to hold on to it until the recycling center opens up again.
I was even thinking maybe the school district, if they're open. I'm not sure if they're going to be open.
No, I doubt it. They're probably closed for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but
We'll just have to keep aware of what's out there and make,
Yeah.
if we see something that might work, then attack it at that time.
That's why we'd be ahead with the newsletter saying something.
Okay, let's move along.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, Jim, this is Mike. Before you go, I had a question for Joe.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, on slide number 7, you mentioned a major breakfast place.
Right.
And I know you don't want to give names and all of that, but would it happen to be on Harbor Boulevard near Geisler Street?
Yes, that's actually exactly what it is.
We had a situation with that owner, and we had asked him to increase the frequency of his hydrojetting.
Yes.
Is he doing that?
He is, yeah. And we actually got invoices from him, I think about a week ago, showing that he has been doing that monthly.
So he's taken our advice or our, okay.
He has, yes.
Without naming names, I'm really glad to hear that, because we were pretty emphatic that night he was there at the headquarters. So I appreciate that follow-up.
Yeah, he appears to be taking it seriously.
Good news. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
Sure.
That's it, Jim.
Okay,
So I have a slide or two left if you guys are interested.
sure.
So we do look at some key program trends just to evaluate the effectiveness of the program. Certainly SSOs aren't always 100% directed to the FOG program efforts, but it gives you an indication if you need to review the program to determine if modifications are necessary. Since between 2014 and 2015 fiscal years up to 17-18, the district actually had 0 public FOG-related SSOs. 1 in fiscal year 18-19, and then 3 in 19-20. So of those 4 spills between 18-19 and 19-20, 3 were residential related, and 1 was actually a private sewer overflow. So nothing FSC really direct related there for those spills.
Joe, you said 1 was private. Why do we count the private one?
In CWIX currently, it's in there as a public spill with a note that it was private, and so that may just need to be updated in CWIX that it's a PLSD, a private lateral sewer discharge.
So we really only had 2 grease-related SSOs.
Correct.
And is that reflected in the 8 above? Did we really only have 7?
Yeah, so it would be the 8 then instead of the 7.
Anything else on that?
And so we just have some general program recommendations. Continue the risk-based analysis of FSCs and prioritization, focusing inspections on those areas and those facilities that have the highest risk of discharging fog to the sewer system. Continue working on EML reduction and source investigations, and again, focusing on the areas, the high density shopping centers, like I mentioned, the camp and the lab, to continue to reduce their fog discharge, working closely with the property managers. And then also closely evaluating FSC's conditional waivers and variants to make sure that they're being compliant with the program. And then focusing our inspections, and this is all part of the risk-based inspection prioritization, but just chronic non-compliance issues and getting observations from the cleaning crews periodically so we can focus on excessive fog discharge. And I mentioned we also included a compliance goal for BMP non-compliances and grease interceptor pumping non-compliances to have less than 10% of our inspections come back non-compliant for those facilities for the year. And so that we're usually right there in that ballpark. I think this year we were under that 10%, but in previous years we've been slightly over that. So it's, it comes with being in front of those facilities that are in consistent non-compliance and making sure they're getting on with the program.
Well, Joe, you showed a tremendous reduction in enhanced maintenance locations. Is that translated into those grease-related sanitary sewer overflows?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly the reduction in enhanced maintenance locations, we can't contribute 100% for the fog program activities. A lot of that was structural repairs to the sewer system and lining and then actual physical repairs. But certainly for some of the source related, just heavy fog discharge areas to the sewer spill or to the sewer system, certainly, we did see reductions in fog accumulation in those areas, and so it's certainly the level of effort there. We've seen positive results.
Any other questions, Joe?
Oh.
Joe, thank you very much for giving us a great presentation.
Good report.
And, very comprehensive, and thanks for the work.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 2, consider approving Orange County operational area agreement.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Orange County Operational Area Agreement is a requirement under the Standardized Emergency Management System. And it's an agreement where all public jurisdictions, cities and special districts sign this agreement. And it's an agreement that really guides all the organizations in the way we coordinate emergency planning and response activities. This document is quite old, the previous one, so it was time to update it, and that's what the county, along with a working group, spent several months revising the agreement. It's now ready for the board's approval. Once you approve it, we will send your authorization to the board supervisors. So we need your action today to approve the agreement with the county, Orange County area agreement for the emergency preparedness. So
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, consider approving the transfer out of $81,000 from the Asset Management Fund, transfer it into the wastewater fund, and to appropriate $81,000 to capital improvement project number 332, Bristol Sewer Siphon Repair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Caitlin Tran will be giving this report.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. If you recall, the general manager declared emergency work for 2 inverted siphon main line pipes on Bristol Street in June of last year. While staff was cleaning the secondary line, a hose got stuck in the pipe. Staff had to cut the hose, leaving approximately 125 feet of hose inside the secondary line. Staff was able to place a camera inside the main and the secondary lines to observe the condition of both pipes as well as trying to locate the hose. The main pipe had small cracks and could be lined. The secondary pipe had damages as well. The district hired National Plant Services to clean the main line and to install a liner. Unfortunately, National Plant Services was cleaning the line and their hose got stuck in the pipe as well. The district then hired GCI Construction, Inc. to procure and install a temporary bypass system and remove both hoses. With the assistance from C&R Drains and Gemini's pumper truck, they successfully removed the National Plant Services hose. After removing the hose and nozzle, GCI cleaned and removed sand and debris in the secondary line. Currently, in the siphon, there are 2 lines obstructed with concrete. The lines will need to have the concrete removed and a liner installed. It will cost approximately $81,000 to clean and remove concrete and debris in each line of the siphon and install a liner. The cost also includes engineering services from RBH. The Asset Management Fund currently has a balance of approximately $5.4 million. All transfer between funds required board approval either through budget adoption process or by direct board action. Staff is recommending the board of directors to transfer $81,000 from the Asset Management Fund to the Wastewater Fund and appropriate $81,000 to Project 332 Bristol Sewer Siphon Repair.
I'll move for approval of transferring $81,000 from the Asset Management Fund.
I'll second it.
Mr. President, just wanted to mention, Mr. Moser did mention there was a typo in the staff report. We acknowledge that typo and made the correction. So I just wanted.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
I have a question. Has this work already been started?
No, it has not. It's not started yet.
I thought you were going to do that on an emergency basis.
Yeah, we're still waiting. We're executing the contract. I still got to get the final proposal from the contractor and then execute the contract. So we should be implementing here soon.
Is it okay right now?
Yes, yeah, the staff's cleaning it once a month. So as long as we keep continue doing that, we're fine.
Okay, let's move along. Receive and file 2015-20 strategic plan quarterly update, 2019 through 20 fourth quarter.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a receive and file report, but I do want to mention this is the last quarterly report for the 2015-20 strategic plan, that 5-year plan. So in October, when you receive your next quarterly report, it'll be for the new plan, the 2020-2025 report.
I have a comment.
Yeah, pardon.
I just wanted to say that it was a beautiful plan, and I thought that the whole brochure was just perfect. I was very impressed with it.
Above and beyond. So we receive and file?
Yes, correct. That's correct.
No motion.
No motion, just
No motion.
answer any questions if you have any questions available. We'll answer those.
Okay, next is receive and file January through June 2020 performance measurement report.
So, Mr. President, we skipped number 5. It's the review and file preliminary fourth quarter budget review for 2019-20. And Caitlin Tran will be giving that report.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. In front of you is the preliminary fourth quarter budget review for fiscal year 2019-20. The books for the fiscal year 2019-20 are not entirely closed. However, based on the actual spending through June 30th, staff is projecting savings in both the solid waste and wastewater funds. As of June 30th, a total of 97.6% of the solid waste budget was expended. As staff anticipates a budgetary savings of $109,250 for the fiscal year, mainly due to savings in personnel and special programs. The total estimated personnel savings on June 30th is $38,550 from salaries and benefits due to the vacancy of the accounting clerk position and staff on leave without pay during the year. Staff estimates the maintenance and operations will be under the amended budget at year end by $10,200. There are many over and under budget accounts. I will highlight some of them. Trash hauler. This account is projected to be under budget by $3,200 as a result of the decrease in residents starting new services during the fiscal year. Recycling disposal. This account has exceeded the adopted budget by $22,700 at year end. Residents are staying at home and generating more solid waste during the pandemic. Same for the organics disposal. This account has exceeded the adopted budget by $12,700 at year end. The schedule in the report shows the organics tonnage as of June 30th is up 653 tons compared to this time last year, with the fourth quarter trending 8.6% above last year's levels. Special programs budgeted of $128,000 came in $60,500 under budget as of June 30th. Wastewater fund. A total of 84.2% of the wastewater operating budget has been expended as of June 30th. Staff anticipates a budgetary savings of $483,100. A total estimated personnel savings on June 30th is $188,100. A significant decrease in full-time salaries and benefits were factors to the savings due to staff on leave without pay and 3 vacant positions during the fiscal year. Engineering services has a savings of $27,200 on June 3rd. Plan checking and inspection. These two accounts have a total budget of $90,000. Only $41,993 has been expended. These accounts have a savings of approximately $47,900 at fiscal year end. The decrease in development in Costa Mesa during the year and the pandemic were factors to the savings. The anticipated savings will be offset by reduced revenues in the sewer, permit, and inspection accounts. Pump station maintenance. Staff anticipate this account to be under budget by $34,900 by year end. Pump station parts and repairs were budgeted for the fiscal year, but fortunately pump stations were well maintained during the year and did not require much repairs. Professional development and training. Conferences and trainings during the fiscal year have been canceled due to the pandemic. As a result, this account has a savings of $60,500. Capital outlay is expected to have a savings of $19,000 at fiscal year end. As for revenue, property taxes, the district budgeted $320,000 in property taxes revenues during the fiscal year and has received $354,788. That's including investment earnings as of June 30th. Annual services, wastewater and solid waste assessments came in on target as compared to previous years. 97% of the revenues have been received. The district did not receive revenues as expected in the inspection fees, sewer permits, and charges for services accounts. Overall, staff is projecting savings in both solid waste and wastewater funds, with the savings in some accounts offset the over budget in other accounts. So that's conclude my reports. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Good report. Thank you.
Excellent report, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move along. Where am I here? Receive and file January through June performance measurement report. Is that the one?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This item is for your receive and file, but Mr. Mosher did have several comments on this agenda item, and so I'll explain or describe those comments in the response we made to Mr. Mosher. So first off, Mr. Mosher believed that it's a good report and it should be shared with the CAC. He thought they would get some good comments out of it. We responded to Mr. Mosher saying that because the data from the performance measurement is collected quarterly and presented to the board quarterly, the CAC meets bi-monthly. Therefore, the data would not be readily available to the CAC in time. So, but we did mention to Mr. Mosher that we do share the annual report to the CAC, so they do still get to see the performance measurement program. He also had questions regarding on page 2, the EMOD, the experience modification. He thought it'd be worthwhile if we describe the type of injuries that occurred. And we responded back to Mr. Mosher in saying that where and how injuries occur in the district is really used for internal purposes only. We use that information and learn how the accident occurred, what we do differently to make sure our employees are safe, so we can have a better EMOD that's less than 100%. Right now, obviously, we're above that 100%, which I'm sure Director Schaefer is not too happy with, but we do have injuries, and when we have those injuries, we learn what happened and how we make sure that doesn't happen again. He also, Mr. Mosher, had comments on page 3 on the number of SSOs. He believed that since we're only comparing 6 months worth of data, it's kind of confusing comparing 6 months worth of 4 years worth of data in 2019, 2018. We told Mr. Mosher that the purpose of the quarterly reports is to show progress being made during the year. Residents can go on our website to find the quarterly reports throughout the year to learn that progress being made. I informed Mr. Mosher after 2020, we'll have 3 years worth of data. And so in 2021, we could start comparing quarterly data with previous quarterly data. So in 2021, the first quarterly report, we compare that 2021 quarterly report with 2020, 2019, 2018. And then at the end of the year, we can do one full annual report. On page 4, on the percentage of SSO reaching surface water, he indicated that maybe the volume of SSOs reaching surface water would be good information for the public. And I said, that's not a bad idea. So in the future reports, we can put in the total volume of wastewater that reach surface waters. On page 5, on the rain ingress, he was wondering to know on that percentage and dates, is that a seasonal event or is that a specific rain event? And we told Mr. Mosier that those dates and percentage is on that specific date. It's a rain event. So we'll clarify that in future reports. On page 8 on the solid waste disposal rate, that's actually the per capita disposal rate that the city submits to Cal Recycle. He wanted to know if there's any way we can determine how much of the how much was landfilled from district programs. And I said, unfortunately, the Cal Recycle does not differentiate the difference between residential and multifamily tonnage. So it'd be very hard or almost impossible to differentiate both residential and multifamilies. Also, because Cal Recycle's data is way behind, like 2 years behind, we might decide to take this out of the program, but we're still deciding on that. He also said there's a typo on page 13 on the transparency score, so we corrected that. He just provided some comments on page 18 on the Public Request Act, so we said we're duly noted on those response. On page 22, he thought we gave it's a yellow coded, making progress, but he thought it should be red because we did not. If we're going to achieve cleaning our entire 67% of our system within 1 year, then technically we should be at 33.5% right now. So in his mind, that should be a red. We're not hitting our mark. We're at 28%. And we explained to Mr. Mosher, yes, it's below our mark, but it's only 5.5% below our mark, and we could definitely make that up in the next 6 months. So that's why we said we're on our way to achieving that goal. We believe we'll achieve that goal in the year. Page 26 on e-commerce, he just needs some clarifications, what kind of transactions those were, and we just said it was reporting the percentage of e-transactions placed with the district. So it's basically the percentage of how many transactions were made by e-commerce from the public. And then he also mentioned on page 27 and 28, the rate comparisons. Comparing the rates with the number of customers served would be a good idea. And we told Mr. Mosher it's worth exploring. Also, it's going to take a lot of time, but we said we would definitely look into it. So those were his comments. Again, those written comments are provided to you along with staff's response. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Scott?
Receive and file.
Okay, well, let's move along to treasurer's report, or no, engineer's report, I'm sorry. Hello, anybody out there?
Engineer.
Mike, you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the capital improvement project status report it'll be up through the end of June. Next month, we'll remove those projects that have been completed and reduce the list and update it. This is just to receive and file.
Mike, on the reports, when you have a bid, would you indicate the amount of the bid?
Yes.
You know, sometimes that's left out.
Okay, anything else for Mike? Okay, thank you. Treasurer's report. Mark?
Thanks, Mr. President, board members. This is the quarterly review of your investment portfolio. Looking at the markets, today the Dow was up 115 points. And when we look at the market compared to the low point happened March 23rd of this year, where the market was all the way down to 19,028. It's risen 7,500 and plus points since that low point. But when we look to the beginning of the year, we're still down about 1,829 points from the beginning of the year. Some of what was driving today's uptick were talks on the next round of stimulus efforts, as well as the tech sector was showing a little bit stronger performance. Both Amazon and Apple were up over 1% today. Gold continues to climb. It's up to $1,930 plus dollars. Pundits are anticipating that it will be at $2,000 by September, just best guess. When we look at your individual portfolio, your portfolio is earning 1.203% as of June 30th on a duration of 2.39 years. We do have, as we are in our dry period now, we do have about 42.3% of the portfolio is maturing within 1 year or less. And we do have a lot of activity that's happened with the rates dropping as they are. We have lots of investments that continue to be called, and we are anticipating that that will be the case month in and month out as call opportunities come up. During the month of June, we had 4 investments called and 1 investment matured. We did place 4 investments out during the month of June. Those rates that we're seeing that are called are at the 1.2 all the way up to the 2% rate. And we're replacing those investments at 0.5%, 0.75%, and those are all like at 5-year investments. So rates are going to be down. They're going to be down for some point in time. I know that in the next year of your biennial budget, interest earnings were projected probably in the 1.4 range similar to this year, and I don't think we're going to see that at all during the next year's biennial budget. And so we'll anticipate seeing investment earnings much lower than anticipated, which are going to hurt from a budget perspective. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mark?
Are we allowed to invest in gold?
I have a jewelry.
It might be a little too late.
I could,
Going up
I could
past 20.
sell some of my jewelry.
Well, thank you, Mark. Good report as usual.
Thank you.
And let's move along to attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I have for you tonight a discussion regarding FPPC regulation 18707, and it's the procedure that we're required to use when we disqualify ourselves from a vote. And it's not too much different than it was before, but I'll tell you what the main differences are. So basically, it requires that an official that's designated on our conflict code has to, before the vote, identify the type of interest that he or she holds that gives rise to the conflict: business entity, real property, source of income, or a gift. And then they have to give, you have to give certain information about the type of entity, the business name, what position you may hold, things like that. Importantly is the timing. You have to do this immediately before the consideration of the agenda item. And the official, if the official leaves the meeting before the agenda item, the conflict must be reported before leaving. If the member joins the meeting after the action, he or she has to promptly identify the interest upon joining. The official must leave the room after disclosing, and as you may remember, the official is not counted towards the quorum. If it's, the only exception to that is if it's a consent item, they may remain in the room. Otherwise, they have to disqualify with the same procedure. They just don't have to leave the room. If the person has a personal interest in the item, as defined in section 18704, you know, like if it deals with your personal residence or your personal business, you can step down from the dais, identify the conflict, and then speak from the floor as any other member of the public. If disqualification is required as part of a closed session, the interest has to be identified as part of the public session before the board goes into closed session. The disqualified person must remain outside. Now, under public comments, Mr. Moser has asked what has changed, and as near as I can tell, the FPPC, they're pretty much the same procedures, but the FPPC has identified new requirements about a person not avoiding disclosing their conflict by leaving the meeting or by going into the meeting late. And apparently that was some officials had tried to do that to avoid having to disclose what their conflicts were. So the FPPC has tightened that up. There is also a new rule that a board member with a conflict in a closed session matter cannot ask for the closed session materials after the vote. So those are new, and I will relate that to Mr. Mosher also if that's the board's desire. Other than that, I'm available for comments, but I think we'll just handle this as these conflicts come up, as long as you can give us an early advance notice that you're going to have a conflict.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Any questions?
A couple other items. I don't know, before you move on.
Oh,
Yeah, before you go on to other items, I was just going to, mention the Santa Monica case, and you all received a memo from me about that. And it was a pretty interesting case. A lot of good factual discussion by the Court of Appeals. If this case, the Court of Appeals decision holds up, dilution will not be an element any further, or will be an element, I'm sorry, will be an element to proving your case. You just don't have to prove racially polarized voting like everyone assumed the law was before. And that was a very easy test to make. And you have to admire Santa Monica's guts on that one. They had $43 million at stake on that one, and so far they prevailed. But there's going to be a request for reconsideration, and then the Supreme Court will likely weigh in after that. So we'll see how it goes. And it was a very interesting opinion. And I'm sure you saw that the facts were quite a bit different than the trial judge recounted them. The trial judge sort of painted Santa Monica as being having racist motives, and the Court of Appeals dug deep into the record and found that, au contraire, they had tried to be sensitive and supporting of voting rights of minorities and went almost out of their way to try and find something was fair. And the Pico neighborhood community said, you know what, we like at-large voting. And they went back into 1946 to find those statements and kind of shoved it down the plaintiff's throats, if you will. So it was a very interesting case, and I know it's one we're all watching very closely.
Arlene, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
I did. Alan, what about this Mission Viejo, the one that they only can elect 2 council members in 2020? Does that start a precedence now?
Thank you for asking that question, Arlene. I have some news on that one too.
Oh.
So as you know, the Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, I'm sorry, the elections official, Alex Padilla at the state has told Mission Viejo they cannot do cumulative voting. So they're still at loggerheads and fighting that battle. And the penalty is the council members got an extra 2 years of their term. So they were probably okay with that. But some of the people in the city are challenging that too and saying that's inappropriate and that shouldn't have happened. But what I did want to mention to you is that the Mission Viejo city attorney handling that case, Bill Curley, has within the last few days joined our law firm. So he is available for any further color commentary on that matter that you might have.
Well, would something like that start a precedence, though, that others, if they're inclined to get involved with this, would have it be in their favor?
Yes, it could be. We have to see if cumulative voting prevails, whether they allow Mission Viejo to do cumulative voting. And we have to see if the Santa Monica case is upheld by the Supreme Court in some way. And then if it is, then we have to apply those rules to our situation and consider if it makes sense to make a change in our voting system.
So would we get our money back?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, does the plaintiff have to pay the city, their attorney fees?
No, as the judge, as the justices said in that case, there's a one-way attorney provision. The plaintiff wins, the defendant does not. So there's $43 million at stake. the plaintiff could win, all the defendant could do was lose, or prevail and not have to pay the plaintiff's attorney's fees. So no matter what, they paid their own attorney $22 million. What they did not do is pay the plaintiffs $23 million so far. And we'll see how that ends up.
Okay,
Any other questions of Alan? Good job, Alan, as usual.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move along to the, where is it?
Local meetings.
Local meetings. I'll be first up. This is Orange County Sand District. Their beaches were ranked among the best in the state. 95% of Orange County beaches received above average grades during dry season months, which is when OCSD made Heal the Bay's honor roll. So that was nice to hear. And
Congratulations.
also, Orange County Sand District and Water District are doing a joint venture, a virtual tour of both campuses, you know, for anybody who wants to make an appointment. And they had and it was very well responded to. So, yeah, that was it. Any questions? No. Okay, San Andrew River Flood Control.
We did not have a meeting this month.
Okay.
Last month, Jim and I were both elected back to the SARFA Board of Directors.
Very good. Independent Special Districts of Orange County, ISDOC.
Okay. Let's see. First, before I start on ISDOC, I just want to say, you all know I won my election, and thank you for voting for me, because you're rare people. Anyway, I appreciate.
Congratulations.
Pardon?
Congratulations again.
Thank you, thank you. CSDA said it was the closest thing they've ever seen, and they just went on and on about it. They said it made history. So that's just one of those things.
Well, the best person prevailed.
Yeah, thank goodness. Anyway, also on ISDOC, we had a meeting on July 7th. That was our last meeting. And on August 3rd, they are calling for nominations. They're going to have new elections for anybody sitting on the executive board. So, and your term would be, actually the deadline would be September 11th. And you have to say why you feel that you should be on the ISDOC and what you would do for being on ISDOC. And then they'll send out ballots to all of us like they always do. And then October, that's in September, they'll send the ballots out. And October 23rd is the ballots will be due. And then October 29th, the names of the officers will prevail. And so aside from that, LAFCO has been done already. So that was the 8th. We had LAFCO. And so the report was given on that. And then we had the, I don't know how many of you went, but we had the ISDOC luncheon on the 23rd. And so that worked out really well. It was a Zoom, naturally. So at that meeting, Kathy Green gave a report, and she reported on the federal funding and aqua updates and the public safety of the shutdown on some of the pumps. And also the Actually, the rest of it doesn't relate to us. I made so many notes, but it's all water and it doesn't really involve us that much. Linda Ackerman talked and she said we might have a recruitment team next meeting as Brett Barbie Quick on the Metropolitan Water District. No, the Metro. And he went to the Yorba Linda. So he's manager of Yorba Linda now. And so now they have an opening there. And so they're very concerned about, opening with somebody. Before that, they had MODOC represented. So we'll see what happens on that one. And then Deborah Nagel talked, and she's the officer of the Science and Technology for the Office of Water Environmental Protection Agency. And so she talked to us on different items dealing with the action plan and the background of PFAS. And then, let's see, what else is there? I took so many notes. I'm sorry to take up my time, but and then she talked about steering people around the potholes and imported water runoffs, and then that was about it on her. Our honorable supervisor, Don Wagner, was our main speaker, and he did such an excellent job, I thought. He talked about the only thing certain is uncertainty, and he talked about what you do as a supervisor and on a day of what his meetings are like and all the issues that come up in Orange County and how busy he is, and insight. He shed a lot on what's goes on in Orange County right now and the way we are. He was a great speaker and he presented everything really well, so that was good. And I don't know where it is, but we had a speaker too on, we always pick a short, somebody talk about their agency. I don't know where I got that, darn it. And so we picked a southern one, and it's down by Lisa Viejo. I don't know why I can't find it. Anyway, he was really good. He explained how, they're so close to the ocean and the problems that they have. And I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it. Oh. Okay, here it is. It's David Sedlak. I guess that's the way you pronounce it. He talked about, he's a civil engineer, and he explained about 5 different sources, what goes on in the imported water from from the wetlands, an open water process of the water wetlands. And he talked about, well, I think it's mostly water, so I'm not even going to get into that much. But I do have lots of notes if you want to see them. You're welcome to. And let's see, what else is there? What did I miss? That was really a good meeting. I think I have notes coming out my notes here. I have a whole area with the Waco stuff. Oh, here it is. And they discussed the general, no, that's not it either.
Help you out on Waco.
Can you? Good.
You read the notes from the ISDOT, but they were the Waco minutes.
Yeah, the Waco notes.
Oh, I did.
A couple of things I got from the
Okay,
Waco
okay.
meeting.
Maybe
And
I
I think
did.
all of us were in attendance.
Yeah, okay.
Ms. Linda Ackerman also said that Metro put in 1 million acre feet into the Lake Mead for future needs, which I thought was pretty significant. And then that David Sedlak, he had 5 points. I didn't like Deborah Nagel's presentation that much, but David Sedlak, I thought it was really good. Talking about water, studying water quality. He said they have 5 areas that they get the water. Imported water is not very pristine. It has a lot of chemicals and nutrients in it. Groundwater replenishment has nitrates and bacterial organisms, but they have remote osmosis, which takes a lot of that out. Stormwater harvesting, the water runs through the streets and is not very good. Seawater desalination is becoming less expensive and is usually very clean water. And you talk about water use efficiency. So maybe the other members can, Bob and Mike are also there, and Jim.
Okay.
And only to supplement that a little bit, Linda Ackerman talked about the general manager recruitment for the Metropolitan Water District. That may be concluded by now. But I think they have a search firm. Yeah, they have a professional recruitment firm like we have for for our engineers. And then basically Deb Nagel and Sedlak were talking about the sources of contaminants for emergency concern, like the PFAS and there's a bunch of them, the personal care products and how those get into the system through those 5 different sources that Art said. And I thought that water fact was interesting. They're actually, if you've ever caught 2 snowflakes, you can check to see if they're the same. They probably will be, but there's actually 300 different molecular structures for snowflakes. But you'd have to go to outer space to find most of them. So, I thought the two speakers, Deb Nagel and Sedlak, were talking about chemicals of emergency or emergency concern, contaminants of emergency concern.
Yeah. Well, thank you, team, for helping me. And I'll just go into CSDA from there.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
It
wondering.
was so much.
I was wondering if the same 2 speakers went to ISDA.
That's what I thought.
Well, if you saw my information here, you'd understand. I'm going to go into CSDA a moment. CSDA board decided that they miss seeing everybody of different members and involving different districts and areas. So what we're going to do is on August 3rd, we're going to have a rehearsal, and we're all going to be on a webinar or Zoom, something, whatever they decide, and to how we're going to set this up. And the way it's going to be set up is like, say, I represent the Southern Network, which is 7 counties. No, 6 counties, I'm sorry, 6. And so my field representative would be with me, and we'll be cluttered into one area of a Zoom, or whatever, of that. And then Northern would have it, Central would have it, and, every area would have this. They'd have their field rep too. And we'd be able to chat with each other saying, maybe a problem has arisen that they haven't pointed out to all of us. Anyway, and then we'll be doing that on the 24th of August, because then we'll really be knowledgeable of what we're supposed to be doing. So I thought that was interesting. And aside from that, I think I've covered it all. I actually did over 6 meetings, but, I'm okay.
Arlene, you said the vote was closed. How many districts weighed in on the vote?
How many, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
Oh, how, you said the vote for, that re-elected you to the CSDA board.
Yeah, well, the ones around us here, all the agencies did not. They were pushing somebody else.
Yeah,
But I admire him because at the end of our discussion on ISDOC, when, they knew I made it and so forth, Greg did say, congratulations, Arlene, I want to thank you. And, so that's, to me, was a stand-up person that did that, because
Greg-
nobody else did it. But anyway, I didn't have to depend necessarily for all these people that were along the water, all of us up and down Southern Park. But everyone else, I was strong on. There was no problem. Yeah, because I've got a lot of areas, Los Angeles, Imperial Valley, San Bernardino. So they were all pulling for me. So, it was okay. And they all let me know it. But you never know till the votes are counted.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody have any comments so far?
I attended a visual session with the city of Costa Mesa on homelessness and the bridge shelter, which we have some concerns about. In Costa Mesa, there were, on this date on July 9th, there were 123 homeless on the day of the count. 103 were unsheltered and 20 were sheltered. And, by the judge's ruling, we were supposed to have 60% sheltered. On March of this last year, March 19th, Airway Avenue permanent shelter location closed escrow in this April at $6.9 million and is an asset for the city of Costa Mesa. And the city, and another point, the city gets from the state of California for a number of years, $500,000 plus for homeless programs, which, we weren't really aware of that earlier, but okay, then the Costa Mesa Bridge Shelter, they've had 59 individuals have been housed over the period of time that they've been there. 77 individuals have been housed directly from the street into the shelter, but then they move on. Let's see. Mercy House from April to May 2020, average length of stay is 73 days. Has served 190 sheltered guests and currently sheltered 34 guests. Let's see. We're the first in the county to have hotel vouchers. I wasn't aware of that, which is pretty good.
Mm.
They also had the 10 trailers that were given to the city that are housed at the fairgrounds, but they haven't needed them yet. And the permanent shelter on Airway, they have $4.125 million in grants. The council have approved the plans, August 1st construction to begin, and finished by the end of January 2021, excuse me. So I know that we have some money that is planned for that. I'm not sure that we have, it's not. I thought we were going to give like $50,000 this next year for the new facilities.
Yes, we had meeting with the city staff. They're still about a year away until the new shelter is open. And so we told the city officials that, yes, the board has approved $50,000 for the new shelters, but we just can't cut them a blank check. We need to see some invoices and receipts before they get the check. So we'll be bringing forward to you in the next couple months a carry forward of that fund. So it's in our budget, $50,000, but we'll have to carry that forward for next fiscal year.
Yeah, they said it's not going to open until January 2021.
Right,
so that's
right.
Over a year.
Right,
So
right.
we can just hold off on that.
Yes, yes.
Art,
That's my report on that.
Art, did they mention anything about the Orange County Fairgrounds? They're thinking of putting something of homeless up there.
Well, that's what I said. They have the 10 trailers there at the fairgrounds, but they haven't needed them yet.
Oh, I thought you meant they have the trailers at
No,
Fairview.
they have that they have it at the fairgrounds, but they haven't needed them yet. This is as of
Okay.
July 9th when they.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm getting some calls on that.
I don't think they need them as of yet because a lot of the people on the street don't want to be housed.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Mhm.
Summertime too.
It's summertime as well.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a pretty interesting meeting. They have them all the
Report.
time, but I thought we should, it was good for us to get on and listen to it.
Yeah.
Art, are their meetings recorded?
I think they are. I think you can go on the website of the city and they record most of their meetings. And you can download it and look at it.
What day was that meeting?
It was on July 9th,
Ninth.
Okay.
called the Homeless
Yeah,
Bridge Shelter Update.
Okay, thank you.
that's good. Glad you went.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Jim, it's Mike. I have a report from SDRMA.
Oh, yeah.
We had a special board meeting earlier in the month, and kind of Mark, if I say something with this, Mark, back me up. SDRMA is actually looking at forming what's called a captive agency, captive insurance agency. Right now in the state of California, with our extra funds that we invest, we are very limited on, and I'm assuming as a special district, it's the same thing. We're very limited on what we can invest in. So by forming a captive agency in another state, we're able to invest funds in a broader range of things to hopefully help with returns. The captives generally are formed in states that have liberal investment policies. And the two biggest are Utah and Hawaii. Is that, sorry? Okay, so the two biggest areas that we could form this captive are Utah or Hawaii. Well, I voted for Hawaii, but actually Utah is very favorable for these captives. So I'll keep you all posted, but it's something that may happen with a lot of the JPAs and I don't know, even districts who look for, we're going to take funds probably out of our workers' comp portfolio and invest those in this captive, and we'll see how it goes. That's it.
That called laundering money?
No, it's not. It's called board meetings in either Hawaii or Utah.
Yeah.
Board meetings will be in Utah.
Okay. Okay, let's move along. Old business, new business, oral communications, and director comments.
I had a comment out of curiosity. On Fridays, is somebody here to answer the phones? Or no?
Every other Friday, someone is here.
Okay, every other.
So this Friday, someone will be here.
This Friday they would be? Okay. I'm getting calls from people on different things. Like this one woman is a diabetic and she wants to know that the pharmacies seems to be closing down. She wants to know where she can bring her needles. And so I said to her, if you call on Monday today to our office, that they would gladly tell you all the locations that you can have them, but we ought to be able to have them here too. Was I right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, somebody else called about a couch that needed to be picked up, and I had to refer that. So I was just concerned about our timing of when we're open and when we're not, on a Friday. I don't know why it comes on a Friday that people start calling. But, okay, thank you.
Okay,
Hey, this is Mike. I have a couple questions for Scott.
Yes.
Scott, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So I observed the CAC meeting on the 15th. I didn't participate. I just observed. And I had a couple of questions that came out of the meeting. First, one of the members of CAC had mentioned that he lives in a single family residence. And hopefully I understood this right. He said that their trash is picked up out of a bin.
Yes.
I didn't think
Yeah.
we allowed single family tracts to have bins.
If I remember correctly, I think he corrected himself. It was a condo or it was a multifamily unit he lives in.
Okay.
I think I think he wasn't distinguishing the difference between a single family home and condos. I mean, the condos are residents, they are residential homes, but I don't believe he lives in a single detached home. He does not live in a single detached home.
Okay, I missed that part of the discussion, but he started off by saying living in single family. So if he's in a condo, then that answers my question.
Yeah, I forgot. I went to that too by Zoom, and I thought it was a good meeting, though. But
Well, I had about a couple other questions, Scott. It seemed like attendance was not. There wasn't a lot of attendance at the meeting on the 15th. There were several members missing. Would it be possible for us to get a list of all the members and their attendance record?
We're just missing one member of that committee member. We're just missing one.
There were a couple. Then maybe I don't have an update as to who's on it, but there were several faces that I didn't see on the Zoom for members. So I would still like a list of their attendance, of the CAC members. The new ones I'm not so worried about, but the ones that have been on since the beginning, I'd like to see an attendance record for them.
Yeah, some of them call in. That's probably why you don't see their faces. They're calling on phone.
Yeah, but you can still their numbers show up at the bottom. I mean, they're still there. I want to see who's attending these things.
Okay, sure.
And then also I would like a list of which of those members are fulfilling their requirement by attending our board meeting. And I brought this up before. One of our requirements is that they have to attend so many board meetings. And I think we need to reinforce that they're listening to us as well. So if I could get that as well. That's it.
okay, anything else?
Well, let me ask Scott, is the engineering recruitment, you've gotten RFPs, you told us that in your weekly report. Do you need President Ferryman and I to help review those RFPs?
And, thank you for the offer, but no, Vice President. This is a personnel matter that the board gave authority to the general manager. This is an in-house employee, not a contract employee. So, no, Diane and I will be reviewing the proposals from the consultants. Then we'll have an interview with them, and then once we make our selection, we'll enter our contract, and they'll begin the recruitment process.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay, anything else? No other comments? I call this meeting
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
I got to go.
Okay,
I'll
we'll
see you guys.
See you.
I have to be at a Lions meeting on Zoom
Oh, Zoom.
at 6:30.
Hey, Jimmy, I'll see you guys. Take care.